T-Bone and Heather on Star 98.3 and 97.7 The Bay.
Oh, good morning, everybody. We're going to jump in here because I got Dr. Polsky on the line this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Welcome to stage one.
Hi.
I don't know where we're at this point.
That's great, isn't it? Well, I hope it's great. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I don't know, from your perspective, you might be a little apprehensive. I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how do you feel? What are you seeing now that we're in stage one?
Well, we're certainly happy to see that more businesses are able to open, more people are able to get back to work, get a paycheck, and just feel productive. So that's really good, and that other patrons have a little bit more of an opportunity to get out of their houses. And, of course, as we've been talking about all along, the question is how safely will we as a community do this? And so far, people all in all have been really doing a great job.
Okay, so well, depending on which county you're in, we've been in this for a little while. You are obviously the health official for Calvert County. Has there been a bump? Is the number steady, dropping, rising? What are you seeing?
At this point, in Calvert, we have not seen a bump. I know every county is a little bit different. We've had expanded testing over the past several weeks, and we have seen a slight decline in average cases. So over this past week, we had an average of 5 new detected cases a day, even though our testing is about 50% higher than it was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Let me ask you this about the testing, because that's all I hear. Testing. We have to test more. The governor said yesterday we're doing about 300,000 tests. That's how many people have been tested. We need to test more. What if you aren't sick? Why would you even want to go and be tested if you aren't sick?
The goal of testing people without symptoms is that the best evidence right now looks at about 1 in 3 people who do truly become infected, not just exposed, but become infected with the virus, never manifest any symptoms. They have no fevers, they have no cough, nothing that would in any way indicate that they carry the virus, but they're still capable of transmitting. So when you test people who don't have any symptoms, that's the only way that you potentially detect them.
And then they would quarantine for the 14 days or whatever.
Well, then you get into the realities that when the virus is very widespread, how realistic is it to quarantine everyone and their contacts? Mm-hmm. And that's something that, honestly, we will learn as time goes on as to how effective isolation, I wouldn't use the word quarantine, it's a little bit stricter. I'm not trying to quibble, but to ask people to self-isolate for 14 days because they've been exposed to somebody, that's something that we hope most people will do, but the longer this goes on and the more people who they may come in contact with over time, we'll just have to wait and see. So, but getting back to the question, unless you test people, there's no way of identifying those people who are asymptomatic carriers.
Okay. So, but, I mean, if I go and I get tested, I have no symptoms whatsoever, but I go and I get tested, it's negative at the time of the test, but if I walk out the door and somebody comes in that touched the door, well, now I have it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it seems like it's you're just chasing your own tail trying to figure out who has it and who doesn't, and I don't think there's enough tests to test everybody every day.
You bring up a really good point. So these are point in time, and the hope in this case is not to identify everyone at every point in time who has the virus, but at least to increase the chances of identifying those who carry the virus so that you're decreasing the potential for people to transmit the virus.
Okay, we had a call a few minutes ago from a gentleman who was very concerned about these tests. He thinks that the state of Maryland is using these tests to take everybody's DNA and to keep a record of all DNA of all these people who are being tested. Is that happening?
No. So
okay.
These tests are going to different labs, or the same labs that process people's routine tests all the time. When you get your cholesterol checked, when you get your blood sugars checked for diabetes, and so there's no special COVID labs that are doing this. And so if that was the case, these labs would have had opportunities to do that for years and years.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I said to the caller as well. I mean, if somebody wants to... Furthermore, because I know there's a lot of people out there, there's 9 there's 19 billion conspiracies for every little
Sure.
bit of actual fact out there. For people who are concerned about the accumulation of DNA, if somebody wants your DNA, there's a myriad of ways to get it other than actually bringing you into a clinic and getting it. I mean, they can get your DNA, just like the doctor just said. Go get a physical. They're going to draw blood. If they were in the process of gathering DNA, they've already got your DNA.
Hey, doctor, let me ask you this, because T had read a report. Do you remember where it was, T, where you read that, where the antibody tests are 50%?
Okay, no, I didn't read that. That was a talking point that was being batted around yesterday, and I may be misquoting here, but I think the CDC had said that the antibody tests that they had done had a failure rate of somewhere around 50%. But I don't think that that's accurate. Mom, what do I know? Have you heard anything about that?
The early antibody tests that came out were over-identifying cases. They were cross-reacting with antibodies for other types of coronaviruses that cause common cold, and cases cross-reacting with other antibodies that had nothing to do with coronavirus. There are some other tests that have been developed that look like they will be much more accurate. As far as I know, they are still awaiting FDA approval, but some of those tests are, at least the preliminary testing is looking like their accuracy will be in the high 90s. So if that proves to be true and those come on the market over the next month, that will dramatically increase our ability to detect who truly has been infected by this virus, by COVID-19. The question will still remain as to, just because you have antibodies, does that guarantee, or what the probability is that you would not be susceptible to be infected going down the road? And we've talked about this a few weeks in the past. I think that based on decades and decades of research, that for people who became symptomatic and have reasonably functioning immune systems, they should be fine for at least a few years. People who are asymptomatic, it would be less clear. That's something that we'll have to wait and see. Do they also maintain immunity or not?
Let me ask you a very generic question as it relates not necessarily to this pandemic and this bout of viruses, but I think it's probably fair to say that this is, the world is getting to be a very small place, and we're all sharing and doing and coming in contact. So, I think this might be something that rears its head again. What can we do as a country to better prepare for this? Because when this whole thing started, we were, didn't have enough ventilators, we didn't have enough this, we didn't have enough that.
Yes.
If you're in charge for the day, you're the medical czar. I don't know what they would call it. What can we do as a country to better prepare so we don't have to shut down the world?
Well, one thing I don't think has gotten quite enough attention at this point is that we have an opportunity, I think, for a few months, presuming that the virus does come back with a bit of a vengeance into mid to late fall, early winter, is that for people that have higher risk conditions, particularly diabetes, chronic hypertension, kidney problems, and those oftentimes intermingle, that they have several months to try to get their diabetes in particular and high blood pressure under better control, so that if they should get infected into late 2020 or into early 2021, they're much less likely to become very sick. And so I would encourage people that as doctors' offices are now reopening and things slowly get back to a better routine, that for people who know they have chronic health problems, but maybe for various reasons they've neglected them a bit, that they get much more aggressive about getting their diabetes and other chronic health problems under good control.
Okay.
Let me ask you this too, doctor, and this has nothing to do with coronavirus per se, but I'm getting emails and I'm having people contact us about blood donations. How is the blood supply in our neck of the woods? And because I'm O negative, which apparently is very usable blood. So I've given in the past. I'm thinking about giving just to help out. But how's the blood supply, and is it safe to give?
So it's safe to give. And honestly, I'm going to need to check on how the blood banks are doing their screening. To this point, I have not heard about transmission through a blood transfusion. And so they're still taking a look at various ways that the virus can go from one person to another. But again, to this point, in the U.S., Europe, South Korea, all around the world, I've not heard about that being a problem, that people have ended up getting infected that way. But let me do a little more research and talk next week, then I'll give you a follow-up.
Okay.
That would be great.
Well, listen,
Thank you.
let's talk next week. I want to see how another week of loosening restrictions, whatever you want to call it, hopefully those numbers will continue to trend down.
You have a couple of minutes to talk about restaurants and pools?
Yeah, you bet, buddy. What do you got?
Sure.
All right. So for restaurants, again, we're really happy to see that restaurants will be able to open for outdoor seating. The only thing I will mention there is that the governor's order limits parties to 6 people or less. So it's not time to get 20 of your closest friends and then cluster around a table. People who are 55, 60 and older, or people that have underlying health conditions, should really consider eating early as soon as the restaurant opens. Where
they do anyway, don't they? Seniors,
That's right.
4 o'clock early bird.
4 o'clock, right.
Or they should continue to do takeout. If people are truly at higher risk, it's still probably a bit premature, because we know there is still a significant amount of virus circulating in the community.
Right.
And then pools, I would just, and our environmental health staff will be out talking to pool managers today and tomorrow, and we've already been out doing pre-opening inspections and talking about possibilities prior to this.
Oh, wow.
One of the suggestions that we're going to have is, instead of just a free-for-all, that consider breaking the day into blocks and having people reserve time. So perhaps pool opens at 10, from 10 to 1, a certain number of people, whatever the reasonable capacity would be, that people make reservations, and then close the pool from 1 to 2, give the lifeguards a chance to clean bathrooms and equipment, give them a little bit of a break, and then open again from 2 to 5, and then maybe from 9 to maybe 9:45, consider having it open only for seniors to do perhaps water aerobics.
Oh, good idea.
Space. And they're there, again, prior to virus potentially getting on, equipment and other things. And then if they really want to be ambitious, then maybe in the early evening, maybe opening up for children's swim classes, where parents get home from work, you finish that 2 to 5 swim shift, and then, again, have about a half hour or so of cleaning, and then maybe have swim lessons for the kids at the very end of the day. And then on weekends, it might be weekdays, and then maybe weekends where things are more crowded, have 3 shifts, forget the water aerobics and the swim classes, but maybe do 2.5-hour blocks. And again, you don't have people angry at the gates because they've hit capacity.
Right.
And it's just, I think in general, it would be a more kind of respectful atmosphere. I used to lifeguard when I was in high school. Tempers can flare every once in a while.
Sure.
Having set rules from the very beginning, I think it's going to make it much more manageable.
Sounds like they should just do that anyway.
They sound like good rules,
I mean, that should be how it's run anyway.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right. Well, Dr. Polsky, we will talk to you, hopefully, if you have the time next week, and we'll talk about maybe stage 2.
Great.
All right, I'm interested to see what those numbers are next week. Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you.
All
right, see you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, well, listen, that's how it should run anyway. You know what I mean? Just you can be there you get a block of time, then you get the hell out.
Right.
Right?
25% capacity is what the governor is suggesting for not suggesting, that is the rule.
Okay.
For pools,
Well,
25% capacity.
Listen, for water parks and pools and stuff like that, I know that's not, but it beats the hell out of nothing.
Is that, I wonder if that water park, if that is the same, like the one over in Chesapeake Beach. I wonder if it's only 25% capacity for them, too.
Yeah, that would be, I don't know, but I'm sure it would be.
But that's like a water park. That is a big area.
So what's the difference?
I do not know. A pool is a pool. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the amount of people crammed into an area at a given time.
Right.
So
25% capacity.
The bigger the area, the more people you can put in, but you still have 25% of your. There is a limit to how many people can be in there, pandemic or not. So 25% of whatever that number is.
And you have to have somebody out there with a clicker. Click, click,
yeah,
click.
exactly. And I think that's, blocks of time, The morning is everybody gets a orange armband, and the afternoon it's a blue armband or whatever, and that's it.
And then hopefully in a month, those 25% will be, maybe it'll be 50% or 75% of capacity.
All right, there you go. That sounds like a good way to go regardless. 8:23, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you along with us. Our phone lines are open for you if you want to be part of the show this morning. I know. Listen, I know that DNA thing is one of the conspiracies that are out there. Let me just say this.
I wish I had never done that ancestry thing, but what are you going to do? But I don't plan on committing murder anytime soon, so.
I don't
who
know.
knows? The day just started, so.
I don't know. Could go either way. If somebody wants your DNA, it's not tough to get. It's not tough to get at all.
Warrant? We don't need no stinking
No,
warrants.
just throw anything away. Throw a soda can you were drinking out of away. And your DNA's on that. You smoke cigarettes, your DNA's on that. Set your phone down, your DNA's on that. Everywhere you go, you leave DNA. There's skin cells dropping off you all the time.
Ew.
That's what bloodhounds smell. They smell your scent. No, they smell dropped skin cells. That's what they smell. You're forever shedding skin cells. And all those skin cells hold DNA. And of course, very simple with your blood. You go get a physical. Well, they got vials and vials of your DNA. So if you're running under the notion that, they're going to get my DNA, if they wanted it, they've already got it.
And nobody wants your DNA.
And probably nobody wants it. So, I don't know. It's just
don't murder anybody today.
Well, not today. I got a full day today.
Don't do anything bad.
But it's only Thursday. Phone lines are open for you. If you want to give us a call this morning, you sure can.